Hey, Cedar homeowners, welcome to the May 2024 Real Estate Market Update. I'm Eric Peterson, broker of Kopa Real Estate. In this video, we're going to cover the latest real estate statistics for the month of April 2024, why the Austin area real estate prices have dropped more than anywhere else in the country since the peak of the pandemic, what's the latest with mortgage interest rates, why does it seem like there's so many darn apartments everywhere, and mistakes that we're seeing sellers make in the market right now. Here's the latest real estate statistics for Cedar Park for April 2024. There were 139 active listings and 93 homes were under contract. 82 homes sold, which was up 36.7%. Average price per square foot was at $234.47, which is up 2.6%. Average sales price was $585,732, which was down 1.4%, and the median sales price was at $487,500, which was down 16.7%. Average days on the market was down to only 24 days, which is down 60% from last year, and the highest priced home sold was $1,499,900 in the Overlook section of Rancho Brushy Creek. A couple of the really important statistics that we want to be looking at for the macro area, the entire Austin metro area, but also for the individual neighborhoods is the new listings coming on the market and active listings. So in the Austin area, we saw new listings pop up 10% compared to last year. Active listings up 7.6%. That's typical to, we're going to talk about mortgage rates, but typically when we see mortgage rates go up, we're going to see the active number of listings increase as well because some of the buyer demand is going to start to decrease a little bit. And pending sales were up 9.4%. So that's a good example, though, that we've got more new listings coming on, higher active listings, and a little bit more activity as far as number of pending sales overall. So something that always has been hard for a lot of the people that I talk to is not really being able to understand what happened compared to the peak of the market compared to where we are right now. And this is an interesting statistical breakdown. The Austin area has gone down in prices from the top of the market until where we are right now, the most out of any metro area in the country, down 19.5%. Right? So it's hard to believe what happened, and I'll give you an example of how that happened. But the good news is that I always have to remind a lot of my clients, especially a lot of my clients have lived in their home for 20 years. And since 2020, since the beginning of the pandemic, prices here are still up 38.8%. So if I had told you that prices were going to be up 38.8% a few years ago, you would have been ecstatic about that. But because of this kind of artificial peak that we had in the market, a lot of people have anchored themselves to those prices, and it's really hard to get past that. This is one home sale we can look at. It's a good example of what we saw happening throughout the market. And this was a home that was listed for $530,000. I was not the listing agent on this home, but I did sell a house nearby a couple months later. And when I saw this as a comparable sale, and even the seller of the home that I was selling, we looked at it. It was just like, I don't know how this happened. And we certainly couldn't use it really as a comp because the market had already adjusted back by the time we were on the market. But it was listed for $530,000, just on the market a couple days, and wound up selling for $684,000. And when we think about these prices, right, that $684,000 and the market value up there, we're often thinking that prices were rising incrementally. And so there would have been another buyer that was at $684,000 and somebody at $680,000 or $670,000, right? $684,000, $675,000, $670,000. But realistically, there probably wasn't another buyer, maybe within $100,000 of that final price. And so that market value deteriorated, as if you're following what we were talking about, kind of like we predicted, because we could see on our own listings that the high-priced listing of what the home sold for, there really wasn't another offer that was anywhere close to that. And so here we go, 2 years later, the people who bought that house are putting the home back on the market for only $550,000. And so it's probably a good story for them. Realistically, people, I see a lot of people that they're missing out on years of their grandkids and they can't move on to a better life because they're anchored to a $684,000 sales price that really only existed for a brief moment in time. And that's why the prices have dropped so much. It's actually not that the prices have dropped that much from whatever you might truly call market value. It's just that total flame up of prices that happen. And so these guys are going to move on with their life, and you can see how it is. So even if the people who paid $684, they realize their house is maybe only worth $550 today and they're ready to move on, that's great. A lot of other people are still over here and they're saying, I'm not going to move until prices are back up to $684. It's probably going to be a long time before that happens again. All right, now let's take a look at mortgage interest rates. And at the beginning of the year, we were also optimistic because rates had dropped down to about 6.5%. And I can remember one of my home selling seminars that I did in January, I thought somebody was going to fight me because I was telling people I didn't really know what was going to happen to interest rates. And generally, I don't know what's going to happen. But he was so sure in telling everybody else the rates were going to be 5.5% by June, and that everybody should wait to sell their house until June, July, when rates were going to be better. And so what we've seen happen now is that we're closer back to 8% than we are to certainly closer to 5.5%. And in April, we saw rates pop up about 0.5% in a day or two when some inflationary data came out. And so it looks like the Federal Reserve rate cuts are going to get pushed farther into the year and maybe not cutting rates as many times as what we had hoped was going to happen at the end of last year and back in January. And so this is really important for you if you're selling a house and you've got to be able to make plans on this. You've got to be talking to people who are active in the market every day, because I just talked to somebody who was thinking about putting their home on the market, and I was giving him this information about what's happening today. And all he kept saying is that some other agent had told them that the market was really picking up. And so I'm guessing that she told them that back in January, maybe February, and not so much in April when rates have gone back up to 7.5%. And so that's a big mistake that I'm seeing people make in the market. Fannie Mae has adjusted their mortgage interest rate projections to where they're still expecting rates to be 6% or higher all the way through 2025. So that means that I don't know that we're going to see a huge pop in the market anytime next year, certainly one that likely would change anyone's fortune. So if you're thinking about, should I put my home on the market today or should I wait until next year? I don't know. Give me a call and we can talk about it. When people ask me if how is the market, I always ask them, well, are you comparing it to 2 years ago or are you comparing it to a year from now? And that really, we need to be looking into the future when we're talking about how's the market. And, if you're like me, as you're driving around, right, it doesn't seem like there's another apartment complex everywhere you go. I mean, I was in downtown Austin the other day. It's been a while since I've done that. And just on my drive downtown, I came across so many apartment complexes that I didn't know were existing. And so if you're thinking there's a lot of apartments being built, well, you're right. And if you look at the forecasts for multifamily unit completions, Austin is again leading the nation in the projected multifamily apartment completions by 2029, right? So what does this mean? Well, several things. If you're a real estate broker, it's a whole lot of people that might want to buy houses, right? So maybe good for me. For real estate prices, we'll have to see, because certainly in the short run, in the next year or two, there's an oversupply of apartments. And so these apartments are going to have to be giving people deals. And that comparison between what somebody could rent an apartment for and what they could buy a house for is going to be an even bigger spread in the near future. Eventually things will all work out, but that may cause some problems. You're going to say, well, somebody that lives in an apartment isn't a home buyer. That's not true. Although people live in apartments somewhat, but a lot of those people are eventually going to be home buyers, right? I lived in an apartment. I own a house today. So that only makes sense. Second thing is that it will have an impact on both single-family home rentals to some extent, but definitely condo rentals. And in fact, I'm already seeing prices in the areas where we work for condos that are being rented are coming down off of the prices they were rented for a year or two ago. So this is definitely good news for anybody that's wanting to rent an apartment or even probably rent a house or a condo. It probably means that prices are going to be more moderated for the near future, maybe till 2029. It remains to be seen what it does to the rest of the real estate market, and what it does for me, I don't know. We'll see if I have more customers as well. I do know that the other thing that it's going to do is certainly a lot more traffic, right? Let me know how you feel about that. And then let me tell you about a couple of mistakes that I'm seeing in the market from people. And one I've already talked about is you've got to be getting information that's current. When I do these seminars, I talk to people like, you got to be paying attention to the data. So look at what's going on in March and not base it on what's happening in January. And so this is especially true of somebody that I was talking to about a home that they're going to be selling in Treviso. And when we looked up the comparable sales, there were 4 houses that were listed for $1,050,000. Never seen that happen before, where it was the exact price on resale homes. And it was kind of strange to me. It was like nobody's even watching the market and what's going on and realizing what everybody else is doing. And what I explained to the person I was talking to, especially because their lot is probably the worst lot out of all of these homes, is that you can look at this, and I don't care if another realtor is telling you that the market's picking up. For those homes, we can go on the back end and we can see how many showings they've got, and none of them had a single showing. So I explained, 2 of these homes have been on the market for almost a month. And in real estate, sometimes you can't tell what's going to happen, and sometimes you can tell what's going to happen. And in this case, you could tell what's going to happen. Some of these people are going to start reducing their sales price. And this week, sure enough, they did. 2 of them reduced their price to $1,025,000. Again, same exact price. So now we got 2 at $1,025,000 and 2 at $1,050,000. We'll have to see what happens in all of this. My advice to this person, though, is that you got to price your house based on the comps you're going to see in the future and not on something that happened 6 months ago. Because even if the comps for these homes are $1,050,000, it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of these homes sell for less than $1 million. So if you come on the market and you're now the 5th home that's selling for $1,050,000, right? What's going to happen? Well, all of these other homes are going to come down in price, right? And you're going to be stuck at $1,050,000 and you're going to be out of the market. And what's going to happen is people might come and see your house, but only to use it in comparison to seeing another home that they're going to put under contract at a lower price. So that's a huge thing that we've seen. Second mistake I'm seeing is sellers have to be ready to negotiate. And I'm seeing people come on the market and they want to add an extra $25,000 or $50,000 to their sales price. And they get an offer that really is a good offer, but they've anchored themselves to this higher price that has no real basis to reality. It's just kind of what they want. And so they refuse to negotiate, and that offer goes away, right? That person goes and they make an offer on another house. And then the sellers are coming back to me 3 weeks later, a week later, who knows, and wanting to know if these people are still interested. And I'm having to tell them, well, no, they bought another house, right? Just what we knew they were going to do. Or they're still out there, but they're no longer interested in that same price anymore. And so you really have to think about the price that you put the home on the market and not stubbornly stick to something that is an artificial higher price than truly what the value of the home would be. Because in the end, what we're seeing is those people are not as happy as somebody else that is able to get their house under contract quicker. All right, let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe to our channel if you found any of this information useful. And if you want to talk to us about the value of your home or what the home selling process would look like, get in touch with me today. Take care and have a great day.